I'm going to talk about something that happened in late November, early December of 1999. On the TV news, there was in Seattle. I wasn't really clear where Seattle was actually, but I had to look it up on the map. But in Seattle, there was some amazing events going on. The World Trade Organization was meeting, a ministerial meeting in Seattle, and I didn't know what the World Trade Organization was either, by the way, so I had to look that up as well on the internet. And what was happening there was that students and trade unionists and NGOs and people from something like 98 countries were bringing the World Trade Organization ministerial meeting to more or less a full stop. And it was going out all over the airwaves, it was going in newspapers, internet sites and all kinds of stuff. So I thought, this is quite interesting. Here we have people organised in a very effective way fighting back against the rule of capital in society on an international scale. Obviously the thing only happened in Seattle, it didn't happen internationally, but the point was you had people from many countries talking about shared interests and goals. I thought that was quite interesting. Also you had trade unionists getting together with NGOs, activists and so on in a quite what you might call innovative and creative ways. So you had giant puppets, 40-foot high puppets moving through the streets and so on. You also got tear gas, you also got police attacks on the protesters and so on. So that got me interested in thinking about Seattle. And then the next stage was what did Seattle have to do with education? Now immediately I didn't know. I was clueless in this area. So as I was finding out about the World Trade Organization, I was also finding out about an agreement of the World Trade Organization called the General Agreement on Trade and Services. And I looked at the actual agreement. And what I found was that in 1994, and New Labour is not responsible for this, in 1994 we had basically signed away primary education, secondary education and higher education, although not aspects of further education but some of it. We basically signed it away to the World Trade Organization. We had committed ourselves to the General Agreement on Trade and Services. Not a lot of people knew this. In a few months after Seattle, a poll was conducted and something like 12% had ever heard of the General Agreement on Trade and Services. I'm not really surprised. Well, of freedom of information, publicly funded library services and freedom of thought and expression. Now I could go into those each one in detail, and Ruth could go into each one in more detail than I could. But it seemed to me that if you're going to have a decent education system, you've got to have free and equal access to information in libraries. That is a fundamental, a basic point of becoming an educated person. And if that's under threat, and I think it is, not in the next few years maybe not in the next 5 or 10 years, but possibly during my lifetime, if that's under threat, I'd like to think that something could be done about it. That human beings can actually say, not only hang about we want to stop it, but hang about what does this say for an alternative way of life, alternatives beyond capitalist society. What does the fact that companies are running schools for profit, the fact that companies like Instant Library are running libraries for profit, what does this tell us about the society that we live in today? Are we happy with living in such a society? Or would we say, no, don't really fancy that. I'd like something much better than that. My aspirations are much higher than that. I want an alternative kind of society. So for me, that's what Seattle, what the General Agreement on Trade and Services, reading Karl Marx and trying to understand all of that stuff really means. I'll end this on a kind of semi-autobiographical note, as most of the things are autobiographical anyway, but I'm in Haralambos. Yes, Haralambos, Sue knows what it means, she's laughing. Haralambos is the... Probably no one else does. I think, well, what's that? Is it a new way of whatever? Haralambos. Yes, Haralambos is the Bible for A-level sociology. Okay, so if anyone doing A-level sociology and they don't know what Harran and Boss is, in the 6th edition there's a summary of the battle in Seattle, my work. So was it a success? Debatable. But what is sure is that for many, many years to come, A-level students will be reading something about what happened in Seattle in late 1999, early December 1999. Maybe they will look at that stuff, maybe they will learn, and maybe too they might think about alternative ways of living and entering some kind of realm of human freedom. Thank you very much.